It's Enemy Sideline presented by Microsoft Teams. My guest this week, Jim Wyatt. He's a senior writer and editor for Tennessee Titans.com. Jim, I know it's been just a crazy few weeks for you, but coming off that big win that Tennessee had against Buffalo, what's the mood of the team? How are you feeling? I know it's just been a very uncertain time there in Nashville.
Deepi, thanks for having me on. It has been crazy. I mean, you go 16 days in the middle of a season without playing. The Titans had 2 games rescheduled. Obviously, the game against Buffalo was moved from Sunday to Tuesday, but had the bye week reshuffled. Team didn't get to practice a lot during that stretch. They had kind of one full practice leading up to the Bills game. And guys were doing things on Zoom and really working out on their own. I don't want to say there was a defeated feeling in town because I think people kind of kept with this team, but there weren't, stayed with this team even though there was a lot of chatter going on nationally about the Titans and their handling of the COVID. I think a lot of people were almost willing to concede a loss to Buffalo in the fan base. I don't think anybody expected to see what happened on Tuesday night when the Titans played, their best football game of the year, win 42-16. Without 5 guys who were on the COVID list, a couple other guys who weren't available because of that. They called up 4 guys from the practice squad, didn't really have much time to work, and played a great game. So it's kind of re-energized the city once again, and now the Titans have the challenge of getting ready for the Texans on a short week.
Yeah, it certainly is a short week, and it seemed like the rest did them good, although the uncertainty, it was such a surprise. They didn't come out looking sluggish or defeated at all. How did you sense the energy level was with the team heading into Tuesday night's game? I imagine it can't be easy to have your games scheduled and then rescheduled and your practices called off again and again. But, what's sort of the energy level of the coaches and the players surrounding the team heading into Tuesday?
Well, guys were chomping at the bit to play. I mean, they were obviously frustrated by the whole situation and not being able to be together and just waking up every morning learning about more positive tests and learning of teammates who were not going to be available to play. There was, this team has been criticized by a lot of outsiders just because of, the Titans were the team, that kind of had the spread in the NFL, and a lot of players kind of felt the brunt of that. I mean, people were saying the Titans should have to forfeit games and should be getting big penalties from the league because of this. I think a lot of guys have really kind of taken offense to some of that and felt like, hey, we're playing in the middle of a pandemic. I think everyone kind of expected, there to be some trouble as you navigate through this. We've seen a lot of games moved already. And I really feel like the Titans players feel like they've done everything they could possibly do, and they were still kind of getting beat up by some people. So they kind of let out their emotions on the football field and kind of rallied together, and were pretty crisp. I mean, I think they benefit from having so many players return on the offensive side of the ball. They benefit from kind of having a veteran team. And I think that was able to offset the fact they just weren't around one another very much over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, very dominant win for the Titans team against an undefeated Buffalo team that was really good heading into Tuesday night's game. Let's talk about Ryan Tannehill. He threw 3 touchdowns, rushed for a touchdown. How much has he improved in this system from last year to this year now that he is the starting quarterback, or how much has the system adjusted to him being the starting quarterback?
Well, he's really kind of picked up where he left off last season. The Titans gave him the contract extension this offseason. It came before Derrick Henry got his contract. A lot of people thought, what are you doing paying Ryan Tannehill? You should have been paying Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry eventually got his money. But there was a point at the early part of the 2020 offseason where, I think a lot of people suspected that the Titans were interested in Tom Brady and that he might end up being the quarterback here. I think that was more of a factor of the rumor mill that was stirring, and Ryan Tannehill was really always kind of this team's guy. And now that he's back in the saddle, I mean, he's taken ownership of this team. He has familiar faces around him on the offensive side of the ball up front, the offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, and he's been exceptional. I mean, he's been great in the red zone. He's been accurate. He's shown some guts when he's taken off and run with the football. And I just think he's finally at a place where he's really comfortable and has a team that really believes in him. And if he keeps playing like this, I mean, he's going to be in play for some awards other than the Comeback Player of the Year award he won last year. I mean, he's going to be awards for players who have been able to sustain it, but he's got to sustain it because we're only 4 games in, and certainly have 12 more regular season games to go.
Yeah, only 4 games in, but Derrick Henry, he already doubled his touchdown production with a 2-touchdown night the other night against the Bills. According to Next Gen Stats presented by AWS, Derrick Henry is fast. He ranks 2nd in the NFL with 25 carries that are 15 miles per hour or faster. And that's with 1 less game. So he's second to just Kyler Murray, who has 25. So how much does Tannehill's success have to be credited to the fact that Derrick Henry brings the speed and power to the game?
I think they really do go hand in hand. I think Derrick Henry benefits from having a guy like Ryan Tannehill be able to throw the ball down the field. And there's no question that Ryan Tannehill benefits from having a guy like Derrick Henry that's getting a lot of attention from defenses. Derrick Henry is a phenomenal athlete. He's fast, as you mentioned. He's also really strong. He works as hard as anybody that I've been around. Reminds me a lot of Eddie George from when he was here during his playing days. I'm sure you've seen the stiff arm of Josh Norman on Tuesday night that kind of generated a lot of Twitter memes, and that's part of Derrick's game. I mean, he's got the speed, he's got the strength, he's got the stiff arm, and he's got the durability. And the Titans are going to continue to ride him, throughout the course of the season, and he's got it going good right now.
Well, this offseason, you and I talked about the tight end position because now there's no Delanie Walker, and we were wondering what was going to happen with the tight end position. And I'm so intrigued by Jonnu Smith. He's got 5 touchdown receptions in just 4 games. That's more than his previous 20 games combined. So how is he different this year? What's been sort of the key to Jonnu Smith's success?
I think for him, it's really been all about opportunity. And I heard Romeo Crennel talk about Jonnu this week and just how he always seems to have a knack for making a big play against the Texans. Jonnu has been overlooked. I mean, even in years when Delanie Walker didn't finish the season, it was really always Delanie's team at the start. And Jonnu always found himself answering questions about replacing Delanie Walker. And he knew going into the season that he was tight end number 1. He said it himself, and he said he was ready to take on that workload and take on that responsibility. And, he's been a very dependable target for Ryan Tannehill in the middle of the field, but he's also been very big in the red zone. And, for him to have 5 touchdowns through 4 games just kind of shows you the comfort level that this offense has in him. He doesn't maybe get as many balls as Delanie Walker did when he was at the height of his career. And really the reason for that is because the team has so many other options that they didn't really have when Delanie Walker was on the team. A.J. Brown is back, really good player. Corey Davis is off to a good start. Adam Humphries, like Corey Davis, who was on the COVID list and missed this game against Buffalo. Those guys are really big factors at the start of the season. So they've got more guys to spread the ball around to, but Jonnu gives them a dependable target and a guy who can get an end zone.
The Titans defense, let's switch gears and talk about them because they are ranked 1st in the league in turnover differential, an impressive +8 on the season. And they did some work on Tuesday night against the Bills, getting a lot of big takeaways, especially early on with Malcolm Butler's interception. So what's been the key to the Titans with all the takeaways? They've also not turned the ball over, but it seems like the defense is on pace to have a record-breaking season when it comes to takeaways, does it not?
It does, and that's been big because they do have some areas on defense they need to clean up. While they're 1st in the league in takeaways, they're last in the league in 3rd down defense, and they're not doing a very good job at getting to the quarterback. And they're going to have to get better in both of those areas if they're going to be able to sustain their success. I mean, yes, turnovers are nice, but you just can't count on those week in and week out. So the Titans need to clean up, what they're doing on 3rd down. They need to clean up, or at least to be more productive getting to the quarterback. some of that is because they've got some guys that are really still trying to find their way, still trying to get in good condition. Jadeveon Clowney, a guy Texans fans are familiar with, is one of those players. He's been around the quarterback. He just hasn't gotten him down. Harold Landry's has flashed a little bit more. Vic Beasley still trying to find his way after playing his entire career with the Falcons before arriving here. They've got some guys that I think will eventually get there, but they're not there yet. And if they can kind of get over that hump, then I think this Titans defense has a chance to make a big jump.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Jadeveon Clowney because a lot of the coaches and players have been asked about him. Deshaun Watson was asked about him because we certainly know what he brings physically to the game with his size and his speed. But, how has he fit in so far with the Titans defense? I know he signed with the team very late in camp and, you guys have not really had a lot of practice time together. But so far, how has he looked? And how about our good friend Jonathan Joseph, who is still starting in the league? I call it Act 3 of his career because he was first with Cincinnati, spent a decade with the Texans, and I would have liked him to retire a Texan, but now he's a Titan.
Yes, and he married a girl from Nashville who went to school at Tennessee State here, so he kind of feels at home, I think, in Tennessee a little bit, even though obviously he has those strong ties to Houston. I think Jadeveon, he came in here the week before the season started. There's being in shape and then there's being in football shape. And I think he had to work himself into better football shape at the start of the season. Unfortunately, like all these guys, again, you lose 2 weeks because of everything related to COVID. And he kind of was starting over, but, he's got to get his wind back again and he's got to get comfortable playing again. So he's still a work in progress. Obviously, this guy's been in the league for a while. He's had some success. He knows what to do. But I get the sense we're just kind of on the tip of what he's capable of doing. He's fit in well. The guys love him. He's a fun guy to watch in the practice field. I was even impressed myself, just kind of what a lighthearted way he has about him. He just was one of the guys immediately. And I think everybody realizes and he's going to get better in time. Joseph, he's been asked to do more than probably he even expected to do because Adoree Jackson hasn't played this season and Christian Fulton, the team's second-round pick, he hasn't. He's been on the COVID list. He's missed some time as well. So they've leaned on Jonathan Joseph and leaned on a lot of guys to step up and in time, I think all those guys will settle in and play even better.
All right. Well, as the Texans prepare to head to Nashville for Sunday's game, what about the Titans? Are there extra protocols or extra measures in place? What are they doing to ensure that what happened in the last few weeks doesn't happen again? What can you tell us about that?
Well, I think everything is enhanced, and certainly there is a lot more awareness of needing to follow all the protocols and be extra safe. I don't want to make it sound like this team wasn't doing that to begin with. But I think when you have had the outbreak that the Titans had and had so many cases, and you've had the league and the NFLPA watching you and investigating you, then I think obviously you're wearing masks all the time and you're social distancing all the time and you're trying to do everything you possibly can to have something like this happen again. I know players, and this is not just the Titans, but across the league. This whole thing is a strain on guys. I mean, they got to get tested every day. They've got to go about having business and communicate and get on the same page at times when they're doing so in Zoom meetings and doing so, isolated from one another. They're doing so at a distance. And so everything's an adjustment. But I think with the Titans moving forward, I think you just got to be extra careful and to continue to try to keep from letting something like what happened over the last couple of weeks happen again.
All right, good stuff. Jim, what stories are you working on? I know it's a short week for you. You got to hurry up and turn on, get ready for this Sunday game. But what are some of the big storylines coming out of Nashville?
Yeah, it is a short week. It's crazy. You wrap up one game and then you look up and there's another one coming down the pike. So Titans are back on the practice field on Thursday. I think our availability, was going to be different this week. I expect to have Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, those guys who usually are staggered during the week. They will. I'm expecting them to speak here at the latter part of the week. So we'll touch base with those guys. It's going to be interesting to see if the Titans have some more guys back off of the COVID list. That's kind of a process. And if a guy is off of the COVID list, does that mean he's going to be active and able to play? There's several stages you have to go through to get your body right, even when you're cleared from a infection standpoint. So that's something to keep an eye on moving ahead. And, for the Titans, this is a big game. I know the Texans, a team that's had so much success winning this AFC South, has been a really a thorn in the side for the Titans for years. Titans haven't won the division since 2008. So anybody that thinks the Titans might be in a trap game coming off of a big win against Buffalo with the Steelers, on the horizon, I think all Mike Vrabel has to do is say, hey, this is a team that's really kind of owned you and owned this division over the years. This is your chance to kind of to put another step above them in the standings. So I expect the Titans to try to hurry up and get ready to play well on Sunday.
It should be a good matchup, and looking very much forward to it. Look forward to the time, as always. Jim, great sitting down and chatting with you, and let's do it again a little bit later on this season.
Sounds good. Hope you have a good week. Thank you.